At number 10, Janet Jackson. The Super Bowl halftime show is one of the biggest televised events of each year in North America. Millions upon millions of people tune in annually to watch the year's biggest and probably most expensive performance. So for the people putting on the show, there is a lot on the line and the stakes are quite high for whoever is on stage that year. Normally, these performances go pretty well, but there are always memes of the off moments, like Left Shark for example. But during the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show, viewers watched a serious wardrobe malfunction happen that was life-changing and career-altering to say the least, and it was more serious than just a meme. Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake were performing together on stage that night when a move went wrong and Janet's breast ended up getting exposed. Following the televised incident that the media dubbed Nipplegate, the FCC sued CBS for the live mishap in a $550,000 lawsuit, inciting indecent exposure for their cause. Janet Jackson was also put through the ringer for her whole part in the scandal. Even though none of it was really her fault, it was just an accident that obviously wasn't meant to happen. It was then discovered that the whole incident happened because the two performers had added a costume reveal into their performance at the last minute, and though it was rehearsed, the stunt failed at the last minute, resulting in Janet's exposure. As a result of the backlash Janet started receiving, she was uninvited to the Grammy Awards that year, and her songs were blacklisted from the radio. Even the next few albums she released following the incident were met with a lot of negativity because of this scandal. It was all just an accident that caused a huge scandal and ended in someone getting cancelled and facing so much hate for no reason. At number 9, Prince. Just a few years after the infamous Nipplegate scandal, the Super Bowl had yet another halftime show controversy when Prince performed. In 2007, he stepped out of the box with his halftime show performance, and though the performance itself was nominated for 2 Emmy Awards, still faced controversy. During the performance, the silhouette of the singer was projected onto a huge flowing cloth that obscured the singer's view. It looked pretty artsy, but soon people came to take offense to what was cast in the shadow that was being created. The scandal erupted when a quote, perceived phallus was cast in the shadow where Prince's body met his guitar. This ended up causing some uproar amongst viewers, and as a result, the network broadcasting the Super Bowl, CBS, got a lot of complaints from those who tuned in to watch the performance. Before we carry on talking about some of the biggest Super Bowl scandals, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Tim Tebow. One of the biggest parts of the Super Bowl broadcast each year are the ads that run during the show. Advertisers spend millions of dollars to have their ads shown each year, and sometimes these ads can cause quite a lot of controversy. One of the more famous Super Bowl ad scandals comes from the pro-life Tim Tebow ad from the 2010 Super Bowl. The Celebrate Family, Celebrate Life ad starring Tim Tebow and his mother caused quite a lot of uproar as various groups ended up protesting against the so-called advocacy ad. The ad, which was created by a conservative group called Focus on the Family, cost the group's donors $3 million to run during the big game. People thought that an ad of this nature was inappropriate to run during an event like this because it was such a controversial issue. The entire 30-second ad was devoted to Tim Tebow's mom gushing about her miracle baby, and people thought that if there was a political message behind the ad, it was extremely obscured. The whole ordeal was pretty bizarre and very divisive as well, though Tim Tebow did defend the ad, saying that he knew some people wouldn't agree with the ad, but he still went along with it anyway.
Next on the list is the Oscars that took place in the year 2000. After winning Best Supporting Actress for her role in Girl Interrupted, Angelina Jolie and her brother James Haven shocked the crowd super uncomfortably when they locked lips at the Vanity Fair after-party. During her acceptance speech for the role, Jolie shouted out her brother with the equally uncomfortable line, quote, "I'm in shock and I'm so in love with my brother right now. He just held me and said he loved me, and I know he's so happy for me, and thank you for that." The kiss immediately sparked headlines, which Jolie called pathetic. She later said that the siblings had been visiting their mother, who had cancer, in the hospital that day, and the kiss and declaration of love had just been part of her reaction to the day's emotional ups and downs. Next up on the docket is the time that Bjork made international headlines for her bizarre and iconic dress at the 2001 Academy Awards ceremony. While the dress certainly made a statement on its own, the quirky artist took it one step further by pretending to lay an egg on the red carpet. She had a bunch of ostrich eggs and she just left them all over the red carpet, and reportedly also left one in the women's bathroom while inside the ceremony. Her outfit was so memorable that it is now a part of an exhibit at the Museum of Modern Art. Next on the list is the 2003 Oscars, and more specifically when Michael Moore took to the stage after his win for the Best Documentary category. While we've all heard the music start to kick up when the acceptance speech goes on for a tad too long, Michael Moore was well within his time slot when he had to be cut off. That's because, like the political commentator he is, he directly attacked George W. Bush for the unnecessary invasion of Iraq. Quote, "We live in a time where we have a man sending us to a war for fictitious reasons. Shame on you, Mr. Bush, shame on you." He was met with boos from the audience and was quickly played off stage. Ironic, honestly, especially when Michael Moore was criticizing presidents long before it was okay to do so, and the same people who booed him off stage ribbed future presidents at other award shows. Just shows the shallowness of the whole thing. Next up is the 2015 Oscars, when John Travolta hopped onto the Oscar stage to introduce Idina Menzel, who voiced Princess Elsa in the Disney Frozen movie. People were obsessed with Frozen during this time, and it instantly became a classic in the Disney canon. The Frozen song Let It Go had been nominated for Best Original Song, which meant that Idina would be performing the song for the ceremony. When John Travolta was set to introduce her, he inexplicably said, quote, "The wickedly talented, one and only Adele Dazeem." Travolta later said that seconds before he was set to go on stage, he ran into Goldie Hawn and missed the announcement that the producers had changed the spelling of Menzel's name on the teleprompter to a phonetic version that was supposed to be easier to pronounce. Luckily, Menzel was a pretty good sport about the whole thing. She reunited with Travolta at the next year's ceremony.
At number 3, M.I.A. Now let's move on to another Super Bowl halftime show scandal. The 2012 Super Bowl halftime show had a lot of big names performing. Artists like Madonna, LMFAO, Nicki Minaj, CeeLo Green, and M.I.A. were performing, and looking back on it now, some people say that this lineup was already a recipe for disaster. People thought that if anything were to go wrong, it would have been Madonna who caused something because of her history causing controversy on stage, like that famous onstage kiss with Britney Spears, but in this case, the scandal fell on singer M.I.A., who ended up flipping the bird on live TV. This all became a bigger scandal than it needed to be because Madonna spoke out against the singer's actions, blowing things out of proportion, saying that she was appalled by the singer's actions and her disregard for those watching. This scandal died down relatively quickly, but later resurfaced in 2014 when the NFL sued the singer for over $16 million in restitution for her onstage antics. This was a big deal because at first, the NFL was only suing for $1.5 million. The two parties ended up settling out of court, but the details of the settlement are unreleased. At number 2, Christina Aguilera. If you're one of the lucky celebrities who gets to perform at the Super Bowl, all eyes are on you. The Super Bowl is one of the most watched television events of every year, so there's a lot riding on each performance. So imagine with all of that viewership, how embarrassing a mess up would be. Well, this is something that unfortunately Christina Aguilera experienced when she was asked to sing the national anthem at the 2011 Super Bowl. You would think that because she's American, then she wouldn't have a hard time singing the national anthem without any issues, but you would be wrong, because as she was performing, she messed up the lyrics and sang "What So Proudly We Watched" instead of "Or the Ramparts We Watched." In retrospect, it's really not that big of a deal, but when you have millions of eyes on you, that pressure can sometimes get to be a little too much to handle and can cause mistakes to happen. It's not the biggest scandal ever, but lots of people were talking about it and shaming the singer for that simple mistake. And finally, at number 1, Spygate. Now, this scandal was probably one of the biggest Super Bowl scandals ever because it was messy and very dishonest. This scandal from 2007, which was dubbed Spygate, was sparked by allegations that the New York Patriots had illegally videotaped the New York Giants defensive coach's hand signals. The Patriots head coach Bill Belichick was ordered to pay a $500,000 fine as a result. But that's not where it ended. The scandal came back again just 2 days before the Patriots and Giants were set to face off in the Super Bowl that year. A U.S. senator demanded a meeting with the NFL commissioner to discuss what had happened with the two teams. 6 months later, it was revealed that this spying had happened before in 2002 when the Pats had recorded the St. Louis Rams practice playthrough. Now, I can't say that I understand football or football culture, but even I know that's messed up.
And at number 10, Justin Timberlake. After the infamous Nipplegate scandal involving Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl, the pair were in very hot water with the public. The Grammys took place shortly after the Super Bowl, and in order for Justin Timberlake to attend the Grammys, he was told he had to make a public apology for the incident at the 2004 show. So when he was announced as the winner for Best Pop Performance for his single Cry Me a River, he came up and delivered his acceptance speech, along with including this apology. During his speech, he said, quote, "I know it's been a rough week on everybody. What occurred was unintentional, completely regrettable, and I apologize if you guys are offended." However, this caused some people to wonder why Janet Jackson was not at the Grammys. Apparently, Apparently she was asked to apologize by the Grammys, but she refused, so she was not able to attend the show. And at number 9, Will Smith. In 1989, Will Smith and his collaborator DJ Jazzy Jeff boycotted the Grammy Awards because the category of Best Rap Performance was not going to be put on TV. This felt like a slap in the face to Will because it seemed like the Grammys did not care about rap music. He then did an interview with Entertainment Tonight where he explained that he had no issues with the Grammys as an organization, but he just wanted to make it clear that he didn't agree with their decision regarding the rap category. But shockingly, even though he didn't attend the awards, he and DJ Jazzy Jeff still won the Best Rap Performance for their hit, Parents Just Don't Understand. After Will Smith took a stand in that way, plenty of other artists have publicly boycotted the awards over policies the singers do not agree with. And at number 8, Milli Vanilli. Music duo Milli Vanilli took the world by storm in 1990 when their song, Girl You Know It's True, topped the charts globally. Their catchy song made them an instant hit, and the pair even won a Grammy Award for Best New Artist, thanks to the hit song. But 8 months later is when the scandal would start. While the pair were performing on stage at a different event, their track skipped, and it was revealed that the pair were lip-syncing. But that was not all. Apparently the men didn't even sing the songs in the first place. Someone else sang their music, and these men were just hired to be the face of the brand, dancing and performing the music on stage. After the scandal was exposed, the Grammys took the award away from Milli Vanilli. They were the first artists ever to have their award taken away from them.
At number 7, Tom Brady. Now I can't say that I'm the biggest football fan ever because I barely understand the game. I root for the Miami Dolphins because my uncle told me to, and that's about it. I watch the Super Bowl for the commercials and the halftime show and go on my merry way because that's about the extent of my football attention span. But in 2015, going on your merry way was a little harder to do as the AFC Championship game was also shrouded in scandal that year and all eyes were on Tom Brady. The Deflategate scandal, as it was dubbed by news sources, saw Tom Brady caught in the middle of a huge sporting controversy after it was discovered that the balls that were used for the championship were deflated and that he allegedly knew about this. It was theorized that the balls could have been deflated to help Brady's grip and to make it easier for other players to catch and hold onto the balls. As a result of the scandal, Tom Brady was due to miss the first 4 games of the season, the Patriots were fined $1 million, and the team lost 2 draft picks as well. It was bad press for Brady and one of his worst moments. At number 6, Barrett Robbins. Imagine missing the biggest moment of your life or career, the event that would change your life forever. Well, for former Oakland Raiders center Barrett Robbins, that's exactly what happened as he went missing just before his team was set to play in the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2003. Robbins ended up being a no-show for the biggest game of his life, leaving his coaches and teammates high and dry leading up to the big game. Barrett was also known to have struggled with his mental health, and it seems as though this was part of the reason why he failed to show up to the Super Bowl match. The football player missed the game after leaving his hotel in San Diego without his wallet and cell phone in order to party in Tijuana, Mexico. After that, he was hospitalized and diagnosed with bipolar disorder. After this incident, things didn't get much better for Barrett as he started using substances to cope with his mental health. He was kicked off the Raiders due to steroid use, and he was sentenced to 5 years in prison for an involvement in a shooting incident in 2005. He certainly had a serious fall from grace after his Super Bowl no-show. At number 5, Ray Lewis. Though this scandal didn't happen during the big game, it did unfold the day after the Super Bowl, and it was very big news. After the 2000 Super Bowl, former Baltimore Ravens linebacker Ray Lewis landed himself into a huge scandal when he and his entourage got into a huge fight in Atlanta that resulted in 2 people losing their lives in a brutal stabbing. The NFL player and his companions were later indicted on multiple violent crime charges. However, the privilege that comes with having fame came through to save Ray Lewis from having to serve time. He was given a deal to have his charges dismissed in exchange for testimony against his friends Reginald Oakley and Joseph Sweeting, both of whom were later acquitted. Luckily for Ray, this scandal didn't totally ruin his career, as following the incident he was able to go on to win 2 Super Bowl titles and continue into having a career with ESPN. At number 4, Beyonce. Celebrities care a lot about their image. We know this already. They care about looking their best no matter what, but with the efforts to keep their image looking perfect in the eyes of their fans as well as the media, this has been known to cause scandals. We've seen this a lot with celebrities like the Kardashians who cause minor controversies when their photos are either heavily edited or not edited at all, but another celebrity who's faced a scandal for something similar is Beyonce, and her scandal happened after her Super Bowl halftime show performance in 2013. Though the performance itself went off without a hitch, making headlines for her theatrics and also the long-awaited reunion of Destiny's Child, the aftermath was a little dramatic. People had been uploading photos of the performance online online, but some of the images included some unflattering shots of the singer. Because of this, Beyoncé's people tried to get those unflattering images removed from digital archives. Some media outlets were understanding and took the images down, but others did not, and as a result, instead of removing the images, publications like BuzzFeed instead publicized the email that was sent out by Beyoncé's team, showing the world how ridiculous this whole situation was.
And at number 3, Macklemore. 2014 was the breakout year for two major artists, Kendrick Lamar and Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, but only one took the top spot at the 2014 Grammys. Shockingly, Kendrick Lamar took home 0 awards, while Macklemore essentially swept the show, taking home the trophies for Best New Artist and Best Rap Album. Fans online were shocked over Macklemore's win and immediately started pushing that Kendrick deserved the award instead. The backlash against his win got so bad that apparently Macklemore texted Kendrick after the award show and admitted that he deserved the award more than him. The text read, quote, "I wanted you to win, you should have." And at number 2, Wu-Tang Clan's Interruption. Before Kanye West was known for the worst acceptance speech interruption, the Wu-Tang Clan actually had that title after they interrupted Sean Colvin at the 1998 awards. After the winners were announced, Sean Colvin took home the award for her song, Sonny Came Home. But not before Wu-Tang Clan's ODB came on stage first, grabbed the mic and started ranting. Everyone just kinda stood by and watched because nobody knew what to do. He came on stage and said he bought an expensive outfit because he thought the group was going to win the award. But the craziest part is that the Wu-Tang Clan was not even nominated for the award that year. Colvin then tried to give her speech, but admitted that she was pretty confused when she came onto the stage. And finally at number 1, Taylor Swift. So the infamous Kanye mic stealing incident did not happen at the Grammys, it happened at the VMAs. But the tension between the pair was definitely felt during the 2016 Grammys. That year was particularly rough for Taylor. She was branded a snake by Kim and Kanye, and everyone thought she was a liar after Kim revealed that Kanye asked Taylor about some of the lyrics for her song Famous. Then when Taylor went on stage to accept her award for the Album of the Year at the Grammys, she made sure to take a dig at Kanye during her speech. She said, quote, "There will be people along the way that try to undercut your success or take credit for your accomplishments or your fame." Clearly referencing the line in Kanye's song where he raps that he made Taylor famous. Taylor's BFF Selena Gomez looked on lovingly from the crowd, so proud of her friend.
First up on the list is a stunt pulled by Marlon Brando that is just as topical today as it was back in the early 1970s, 1973 to be exact. While Marlon Brando isn't the first person to decline their Oscar for various reasons, his snubbing of the ceremony following his iconic role in The Godfather was certainly one of the most memorable. Brando was considered a shoo-in for the winner of Best Actor, and he had already taken home the Best Actor statue once before for his role in the 1955 movie On the Waterfront. However, despite what many would consider this to be a huge honor for the actor, he decided to not even attend the ceremony. Instead, he sent Native American actor and activist Saheen Littlefeather on stage to decline the award on his behalf. He did it in protest of the way that Native Americans have been treated in the United States. The 1973 awards were the first time that the show had been broadcast internationally, and over 85 million people watched Littlefeather's passionate speech, which came just a month into the standoff between Native American activists and the cops after police killed a Lakota man at the Wounded Knee Reserve in South Dakota. Next up on the list is the 1974 Academy Awards ceremony, when an English teacher named Robert Opel stripped down and ran on stage while Elizabeth Taylor was being introduced for an award. So Robert ran on stage completely naked and sprinted around for a bit. After the stunt had occurred, the host at the time quipped, quote, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was almost bound to happen." But isn't it fascinating to think that probably the only laugh that man will ever get in his life is by stripping off and showing his shortcomings? Luckily for Opel, he was able to evade arrest, probably because everyone thought the stunt was hilarious. Instead, he was invited backstage to explain himself. Turns out the streaking was part of Opel's commentary on the way society has become too conformist. Opel, who owned a Los Angeles gallery known for showcasing homoerotic art, also streaked at the Los Angeles City Council meeting. Next up on the list is a horrifyingly cringy musical number that actor Rob Lowe did with a Snow White impersonator. This happened during the 1989 Oscars, which was considered a year of many firsts. The first time the ceremony used the famous red carpet, first time the term, quote, "and the Oscar goes to" was used, and the first time the show didn't have a host. Instead of a host opening the awards, it was Rob Lowe and Snow White singing an 11-minute version of Tina Turner's track Proud Mary with the lyrics tweaked to fit the show's theme. The performance was super awkward and cringy, but the scandal part comes from it also being illegal. The performance prompted Disney Studios to file a copyright infringement lawsuit against the Academy for using Snow White's image without permission. On top of that, a group of 17 heavyweight actors wrote in to write a scathing letter to the Academy, calling the performance an embarrassment to the people who were nominated. Yikes.
And at number 7, Eminem. If you guys aren't familiar with Eminem, his lyrics are very controversial. He frequently uses slurs in his music, specifically against the LGBT community. In 2001, Eminem received backlash from the community for homophobic lyrics on his album, the Marshall Mathers LP. In the midst of the backlash, it was announced that he would be performing at the 2001 Grammy Awards. The GLAAD organization then held a protest against the decision and called out the Grammys for giving his words a platform. In response to all the backlash, Eminem made a statement by performing his hit song Stan with Elton John, who is of course openly gay. At the end of their performance, the pair hugged it out, then Eminem flipped off the Grammy audience. And at number 6, Andre 3000. After Outkast won the Album of the Year award at the 2004 Grammys for Speakerboxx / The Love Below, the group's lead singer Andre 3000 closed out the show with a performance of their hit song, Hey Ya. But the performance was a little different than usual, because he sang while wearing a Native American themed costume that ended up offending the Native American viewers. They believed there was a clear double standard, and the performance would not have happened if the performance was emulating another community. After the performance got backlash from the Native community, CBS apologized on behalf of the group for their choice of clothes. Halfway number 5, Chris Brown. One of the worst scandals ever was back in 2009 when Chris Brown brutally Rihanna. You might not have known this, but this event is actually connected to the Grammys. The night before the Grammys, there's always a prestigious party thrown called the Clive Davis Grammy Pre-Party. The night before the 2009 show, Chris Brown and Rihanna attended the party together, but unfortunately only hours after they left is when the terrible incident occurred in the car where they were driving back from the party. The next day, shocking headlines revealed what happened, and it completely overshadowed the awards themselves. Neither one of the pair showed up at the show because they obviously had more important things to deal with, but it definitely changed the tone of the show. And at number 4, Whitney Houston. This is sadly another tragedy that was linked to the annual Clive Davis Grammy party, held the night before the Grammys. After the 2012 party, Whitney Houston went back to her room at the Beverly Hills Hotel and unexpectedly passed away. Her passing not only made headlines the day of the show, but it drastically shifted the tone of the event. During the show's In Memoriam segment, for artists who had passed away that year, Jennifer Hudson took to the stage and performed Houston's classic hit, I Will Always Love You. Hudson ended the performance by saying, quote, "Whitney, we will always love you."
Next up is the infamous 2017 Best Picture announcement mix-up. At the very end of the ceremony, Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty took to the stage to reveal the night's big-ticket Best Picture winner. All was going smoothly until Beatty went to read the winner. He looked noticeably confused, and some wondered if he was having a hard time seeing the teleprompter. He held the card out to Dunaway, who assumed he was changing up the script and allowing her to read out the winner. She announced La La Land, and the cast and crew filed on stage to celebrate. Backstage, Academy accountants from PricewaterhouseCoopers sprung into action and alerted production that the wrong envelope had been given and that Moonlight actually had won Best Picture. Stage managers scurried on stage to correct the gaffe. So what happened? Turns out Beatty had been handed an extra Best Actress envelope, which had gone to Emma Stone from La La Land, instead of the one labeled Best Picture. A production error earlier in the day meant that they had run out of time to rehearse the last few awards prior to showtime, which could have contributed to the mistake. Oopsies. Next on the list is the 2020 Oscars, where the much-deserving film Parasite had just been announced as the Best Picture of the year. It marked the first time that a non-English language film took home the top honor. When the cast and crew headed on stage to accept the award, which was one of the 6 the movie won through the night, co-producer M.I.A first took the mic and spoke for 45 seconds before turning things over to Mikey Lee, the film's other producer. But before Lee got to deliver her speech, the lights went down on the stage and cameras focused on Jane Fonda, who was slated to deliver the night's closing remarks. The audience was instantly outraged, and stars like Tom Hanks and Charlize Theron, who were sitting in the front row, started chanting "Up, up" to persuade the showrunners to turn the attention back to Parasite. Luckily, the cheers worked and Lee was able to deliver her remarks, but it didn't stop tons of outrage from coming out in reaction to the rude dismissal. And now, finally, we come to the Oscars that were literally just held a few days ago with another big scandal. As Chris Rock took to the stage to present the award for Best Documentary, the comedian made a few jabs at Hollywood and its actors. One such jab was toward Jada Pinkett Smith, who suffers from alopecia. Basically, it was a joke aimed at her being bald, to which Jada's husband, Will Smith obviously, rushes the stage and slaps the words right out of Chris Rock's mouth. Chris was obviously super shocked, and Will Smith sat back in his seat but shouted back at Chris not to talk badly on his wife. Everyone in the crowd was super stunned, obviously. A fight has never broken out on the Oscars stage before. And it was just super sweet chicken soup for my middle class soul.